What's up, and welcome back to the channel. You are listening to Ninja Knight. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Thank you. So what I want to do today is talk about the Star Wars The Black Series Rancor from Haslab, and I want to talk about why this is a disaster in my view. First off, what I want to say is, you look at the other lines that are within Hasbro's umbrella. You've got the likes of Transformers, G.I. Joe, you've got Star Wars obviously itself, Power Rangers, and you have the likes of Ghostbusters. Now, when you're looking at this, there has been some shaky results as relation to this Haslab campaign. First off was the sail barge came out, and a lot of people were very, very happy about that. Then you have the situation that arose with Haslab Unicron, which was they decided to show a version of Unicron for a very long time and bring it around to different festivals and conventions. And then when this thing showed up on people's doorsteps like it did mine, and it had a different coloured mod that was inaccurate to the movie, and when it had a different coloured set of bottom teeth that was inaccurate to the movie, a lot of people were unhappy and were going to remember that. So as I said at the time, I wouldn't buy another Haslab again, due to the fact that Hasbro totally ignored that problem and didn't rectify it, and still haven't rectified it. This is a high priced item, a one of a kind item, and they decided to do nothing about that. So this is why you're seeing a problem with relation to this one, because Hasbro lines have cross pollination. You have people like me that buy the likes of Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Ghostbusters and Star Wars. And what I see with Haslab hasn't impressed me. I decided not to go with the Razor Crest as well, and I've decided not to go with Galactus. And I've decided not to go with the Sentinel, because of the incident that happened with Haslab Unicron. That is one item that had a knock-on effect for various others, and I'm not the only one that felt like that. I'd be interested to see how Star Saber turns out. Again, I haven't purchased that one either, but I'd be interested to see how that one turns out, purely on the basis of if they stick to what they've been showing people. It remains to be seen. But to me, the fact that they decided to go from a planet-sized Transformer down to a much smaller sized Transformer would suggest to me that the backlash on Unicron was enough for them to say, we don't want to do that one again. Moving on. You've had the Ghostbusters Proton Pack that has been a wild success, and people have been delighted with that one because they've decided to listen to the fans and hone in on what they wanted, which is a Proton Pack which is costing them far less than it would for a third party to give them a Proton Pack. They've listened to the fans, they've done a home run, and they're very happy about that. It'd be interesting to see how things pan out though, because a lot of people aren't happy with the fact that they have to buy the wand separately. But if you're looking at it from a marketing point of view and a sales point of view, Hasbro have done well to sell people the wand and then give them the Proton Pack later. And I think it costs now all in all over $500 to have both in completion as it stands. They've decided to go now with the G.I. Joe Sky Striker for the 3 3/4 inch line. That seems to be another one that's going to be a success, given the fact that it's going to have exclusive figures attached to it, which is a big problem for this figure here, the Rancor, and it looks like that's going to keep going. You've had the Marvel Legends Sentinel, which was quite successful, given the fact that it had exclusive characters with that also. Now some will say, yes, of course they've been using repaints and slight remolds, and that's fair enough, because the big item, the big ticket item that you're supposed to be getting is the Haslab itself. Any other extras are supposed to look like a bonus. And there's a couple of things with that I want to talk about. So, now you come to this one here, and you have the Haslab Star Wars Black Series Rancor. So you've got success in these other brands, because these brand teams seem to communicate with fans, understand what they want, and it seems like that their budgets haven't been slashed. Now, this was something that Yakface reported on, I think, over a year ago at this stage, that said that the budget for Star Wars Black Series had been slashed. Why had it been slashed? Well, this is something that other speculators won't talk about. So other channels and other articles are not talking about the fact of what's going on with Star Wars. The reason why the budget was slashed, and I'm talking about the fact that we're seeing a lot of repaints and slight remolds from Star Wars now at the moment, is because of the disaster that was the sequel trilogy. This is carried over now into The Mandalorian also. The Mandalorian now is something that they have given it, it's like a Barbie at this stage. They're just repainting it in different types of flavours and trying to push that out and see if that will work. I think that people are going to get oversaturated with Mandalorian, and it's not going to be something people are going to buy with. It was a hot ticket item during season 1. Season 2 failed to live up to expectations and caused more problems than it did solve anything. That's due to the storytelling of Dave Filoni. In my view, I think he's a very poor choice for Star Wars. People out there will disagree with me, but I've done a video on him before, and I think he's a very, very poor choice, and I think he's a snake oil salesman personally. When you look at some of the comments that he has made towards Rey and to the likes of Ahsoka breaking canon to save her using time travel. So you already have bad will from a lot of people there that are not really into Star Wars now at this moment in time, given the fact that you're seeing single elbows and single knees with the line. A lot of repaints, a lot of slight remolds, and being thrust out there without any sort of QC. Recently, there was a deluxe Boba Fett figure that came out, and if you tried to plug the jetpack into the back, due to the fact that there was some sort of weird plastic rubbery material on, like a vest on Boba Fett, this thing would absolutely and positively stress mark all over the place, and it would destroy portions and pieces of the Boba Fett material. They decided to release a deluxe version of Cobb Vanth. A deluxe version, so this is a guy that's wearing Boba Fett's armor, and they decided to make a deluxe version of this, and they tried to put it down to, well, it's the amount of paint apps that this guy has, so you have to pay way more for that. They're also after making a deluxe price version of Crosshair from the Imperial version of him, with no remolding for the likes of the shoulder pads, which has been pointed out by others, and there's been no remolding for other parts of the item. That's extremely unlike a Star Wars item. I don't know about you, but certainly when I was growing up, Star Wars was always about unique molds. Yes, there was some reuse 100%, but there was a lot of remolds and there was a lot of gimmicks with the toys to see what would sell and what didn't. That was something that was under George Lucas's stewardship at that time, and I think he was innovative when it came to the likes of toys. Fast forward to what's going on here. You have a comedy of errors that's going on with the Star Wars brand that people don't want to attribute to this. The sequel trilogy was a disaster, which is why the budget has been slashed, and people do not want to face up to that fact. You've got a lot of stuff on clearance, you've got Mandalorian stuff on clearance now, and it's happening everywhere. So the hot ticket item now is now becoming a clearance item. That's a problem. You've now decided to go with a scene specific creature. Whilst there's an awful lot of fans out there that wanted to see this, and I'm sure there was, I don't think that this was the way to go. They went with the Razor Crest last year, and what happened after that? As soon as they stopped the funding, Razor Crest was blown up on the show. So now you've left people with a sour taste in their mouth now at this stage, because you funded it, and literally I think it was like a week or two later, the Razor Crest was wiped off the face of existence in The Mandalorian. So people were thinking to themselves, why would I buy another thing now that's effectively gone? Because as we know, the Rancor does die in Return of the Jedi. Now we all know this because that movie is out so long. But here's another problem that comes along with this. You were talking about the Rancor. What's specific about the Rancor? Well, it's specific because of one of Jabba's girls, Ula, was supposed to be in this set. This is something that people expected, given all of the controversy and the PC nonsense that surrounds Leia, particularly in her bikini outfit that's there. And Hasbro have been absolutely kerfuffled as to what to do with that character. So much so they decided to rename it to give it some sort of female empowerment by calling it a Hutt Slayer Leia. Absolute ridiculousness. This is a company now that has decided to change the name of Boba Fett's ship as well to go away from a certain way of thinking, even though they're telling people they have to be mandated to take something to work on their film lots. Work that one out. And what you're saying now is, hey, this stuff that mattered to you before matters no longer, and we're just going to keep doing what we want with it. Now you talk about the character that has been included with this, which we will show. And this is a Rancor. This is a scene-specific, and I would say a very specific character within the movies. I'm going to give my suggestion towards the end as to what I thought would have been a better version of a Black Series Haslab that they could have done than this one. I know a lot of people out there, Return of the Jedi fans, Luke Skywalker fans, were probably very interested in this, but it doesn't look like it's going to make it. So the first thing was they decided to reveal that this was going to be the Haslab, and it seemed great. Then they said that there was going to be a Haslab exclusive Gamorrean guard that came with a specific type of packaging. Okay, repaints and stuff like that and reissues are supposed to be expected when it comes to Haslab, particularly because all of the Haslabs so far I think have done it in some way, shape or form. Marvel Legends being a primary example there of reusing and retooling somewhat slightly. So the big sell was the fact that this came with a specific coin and it came with a specific type of packaging. That wasn't really selling anybody anyway. Again, like I said, Ula and Macaulay, who is the Rancor keeper, was something that people were very much so interested in, and the team didn't listen. And this is what happens. You reap what you sow when you decide not to listen to fans. So tier 2 was revealed as some bones, which is this, which a lot of people correctly said that they could have gotten on the likes of Etsy or some sort of third party, or someone could use like some sort of 3D printing machine. And the next thing then was a cardboard cutout piece for a background. Now, as a Transformers collector, these are things that come routinely with the likes of Transformers Studio series. This is something that has come with the Supreme Class Devastator from Transformers Studio series. This is insane to think that they're going with this at $349.99 before tax for people in the USA. This is retailing for €389.99. This is insane to think that this is something they thought they were going to get away with. They're just hoping that the name Star Wars was going to be something that would just get them along. Now we move on here and we can see the coin. So neither of those tiers really excited anybody, and rightfully so in my view, because again, people were expecting Ula, they were expecting the Rancor keeper, and they haven't been released. Now I think that the PC nonsense that's going on around them means no sense at all in my view. But you're looking at the Rancor here as we're just fast forwarding through the pictures that you can see here. It's even painted in a weird colour. In my view, the Rancor should be probably a lighter brown. It shouldn't be like this chocolate brown. Wow, that's a picture in itself. It looks like he's dropping one off, you know what I'm saying? So, this is a big problem for this. It doesn't look like it did in the movie either, which is going to cause and cast further doubt amongst people. They're saying there's ratchets in it as well. The articulation cut looks a bit odd as well. A lot of people said it looks like something else, you know what I'm saying? And the coloration looks way off. It seems to me like they didn't really think this one out. And as I said, I have a couple of suggestions of what they could have done that I'll leave towards the end. But what I want to do is I want to show the last item that they decided to release with this one. So they decided to say that Salacious Crumb was going to be one of the tiers, which doesn't make sense because Salacious Crumb had nothing to do with the Rancor either. And it's actually a repack then from one of the Disney sets. So this is further annoyed people. And then there was a Luke Skywalker then that came out along with this. So we will fast forward through this now and let's see if you can see it. So there it is showing what it can do. It's multiple poses. That is great, you know, but I don't think it's going to happen. Then they've got Luke Skywalker here. And like I said, Luke Skywalker is a character that people loved back then. The sequel trilogy helped to destroy this character. So why should people care? Why should this be a seller? You know what I'm saying? Moving on here then, you're going to look at this. Comes with the bone to stop in the jaw of the Rancor, and then they have a digital render then. Of course, this is single joints, by the way, and they have a digital render of what it'll look like. It doesn't particularly look like Mark Hamill, and it's a slight remold retail. And this was supposed to be the showstopper. This was supposed to be the one that's like, okay, this is going to really excite people, and it failed to do so. So what predicament is going to happen now? Well, it looks like this is going to fail at this stage. Given the fact that it's losing backers, I've never seen this happen before in a Haslab. I've been particularly keeping an eye on different Haslabs to see how things would pan out. But this one has been something to behold. This is in free fall now at the moment, and what do they need to do? Well, what they need to do is, I think a lot of fans feel like that they need to fail on this one to truly start listening to people of what's going on. Now, the last time that they have renewed this license with Disney, so Hasbro have renewed this license with Disney, and they seem to do it on the last minute according to multiple inside sources and people that are out there and have been credible sources like the likes of Yak Face and others for a very long time. It seems like Hasbro signed on the dotted line for this at the very last minute. Why did they do that? Well, Marvel was also included with that deal. So it seems like Disney had them over a barrel, which was, well, take Star Wars because you have to have Marvel, so you have to fit both of them in. From what I understand, Todd McFarlane is interested in this license. I think when the contract renewal does come up at some stage, Disney will probably look to shop it around because Hasbro, I'm sure, will probably try and get rid of it because this isn't something that's producing an awful lot of money from them from what we're seeing. How do I know that? I know that because they're cutting back on the articulation and they're cutting back on the effort. It seems like they have the Z-list team on this. And I mean that with no disrespect to anybody that's working on this brand, because I'm sure that there's people that are there that are working on this that love it and are just being fit within budget constraints. A large part of a big problem with what's going on with the toy industry, and particularly with this one, was they weren't upfront about what they were going to do. If they came out from the off and said, this is what the tiers are, this is the Rancor, the Rancor is the selling piece, the other bits are little add-ons, we really appreciate everybody that's doing it, this would be a better thing to do. You look at, say, for example, Ethan Van Sciver, how he did his campaign with Cyberfrog. He showed off all of the tiers immediately, so people knew once they hit X amount, that's what they were going to get. This secrecy that's surrounding these things, I know why they do it. They do it from a marketing point of view to keep people interested, to keep people on the hook, to push people further into purchasing these things. But what they decided to do was they decided to give tiers that just didn't excite anybody, especially when people were expecting Ula and the Rancor Keeper. So there's a lot of people out there that are speculating as to what is going to happen with this. I personally think it's going to fail. However, I wouldn't be shocked if it does get over the target, because whilst it is dropping in backers, I don't think that they've added the international account right now. If I'm looking at it particularly as an outsider, if I'm someone that's not buying Haslab and I'm looking at it from a marketing point of view, or if I'm looking at it from a selling on point of view, this is where the logical brain kicks back in, aside from the emotional side of things. If this makes it just at 9,000 or just over that, it's going to be a limited item. So people at this moment, whilst they're cancelling it and hoping it doesn't pass into the realm of happening, if it does, it becomes a limited item, which means that people can sell around then for far more than it's worth later on down the road. So I know people out there that might not like to hear that because they don't feel like Hasbro deserve to get this win, and they don't deserve to get this over the line. But that's just economics, and that's just what's going to happen. You're seeing it with the barge. You're going to see it with the likes of Galactus. Galactus, a lot of people bought into that. I think it ended up at 32,000. Obviously, there was a lot of people there that thought they were going to flog that one. I don't know how they'll do that one for a profit personally. I understand how the Sentinel is going to be flogged for a profit, and people bought less of that than they did the Galactus, so Sentinel would be worth more. And vice versa then for any other item that's out there. Unicron is holding its value because that just got about there, and that will continue to hold its value, inaccuracies and all. What do they need to do from here? They probably need to go back to the drawing board. If this does fail, this is not a good thing for the Star Wars team. In my view, this could probably be the final nail in the coffin for Star Wars at Hasbro. Because why would Hasbro take another big gamble at something like this where they have to put in research and development for these items? This is going to just have a bigger effect on the brand, and people then that will look at this brand as a failure. The Cookie Monster was a failure. If the Rancor ends up as a failure, that is not a good look for this brand whatsoever. So I'm sure they're panicked now at this moment. And also the fact that they're actually in free fall from backers. When I first clicked on this page, this was at about 5,120 backers. It has actively lost a number of backers now at this stage, and it's continuing to do so. The last time I actually refreshed this page, I think it was at 4,982. I'll just give it a quick refresh on my own device here. It's at 4,975 backers. So it's lost more again since I've been talking on this video, with 16 days left to go. I think it's still going to be a high ticker item after the fact if it does just get over the line. But if it does fail, I think there's no one else to blame but Hasbro themselves, given the fact that they've caused so much problems. Disney and Lucasfilm are largely to blame also, because there is a serious lack of interest in Star Wars. There are people out there that are in denial saying Star Wars is fine, Star Wars is healthy. This is an item from the old trilogy which people love, and this is failing. Interesting to see how things pan out. Where do they go from here? I don't know if they're going to go past the Boca Bob Effect. I think that that's where this brand may end. I think at that stage they might look at trying to get out of the deal or try and sell the license on to someone else. There's only so many times you can sell Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Leia, and especially with all of the messing that they're doing over the last couple of years with not wanting to release certain characters and in certain outfits, it's ridiculous stuff. That can't continue, especially when you're deciding to take away hot selling items that they could be. You're deciding to remove them for PC reasons. It doesn't make sense whatsoever as a business. It's stupidity in my view. What's an alternative for the Haslab in future for ideas? And I'm not the greatest fan of these Haslabs, particularly because I've been born on the likes of Transformers Unicron. Where I would have gone with this Haslab was this. The prequel trilogy stuff is obviously selling. The old trilogy stuff, because you've burned Luke Skywalker so much, and Han Solo and Leia in the subsequent sequel trilogy movies that are not being forgotten about, by the way. Unless you erase those movies, they're not being forgotten about. You're in dire straits. So now at the moment, they're reversing and they're going, well, prequel trilogy stuff is selling. It clearly is. What they could have done, in my view, was probably a Republic gunship. I think that would have been the cleverest thing to do. I also think as well, given the fact that there's an awful lot of space within inside it, it would have been quite a hollow item. And I think that you could have gotten away with lights and sounds and perhaps an exclusive pilot with it. There would have been slight remolding and retooling and stuff there, but they would have gotten away with that in my view. And it would have been a nice centerpiece. And I'm saying that as an idea, as a free idea for these people. It's insane to think of it like that. You could have possibly also done a 6-inch version of the Razor Crest. Even though it's gone, you could have done a 6-inch version of Slave 1. That would have been a good one. Boba Fett ship. There's multiple other things that could have happened. The Jedi Starfighter that you could have repainted later on down the line. Luke's X-Wing, maybe. If people were interested in that. Again, things that were used and utilised a number of times in movies. People would love a diorama with the likes of the Republic gunship behind it. What if it was like, say, for example, the creatures from the arena in Episode 2? There are things that the likes of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi that could face off against. You could even have an exclusive Comb and Trevor within that too. That possibly could have been something that could have gotten off the ground, because now at this stage, people like myself that have grown up with the prequel trilogy, I know that older fans will scoff at that and say, oh, we didn't like that whatsoever and we thought that wasn't a good movie, or we didn't think that was a good trilogy, and you're entitled to your opinion 100%. But people like myself that are growing up now and do have nostalgia towards that, and have certainly bought into the likes of Darth Maul, and that's why the likes of the Clone Wars continued as it did, and Rebels and stuff. That's all those characters that crossed over. I think it would be a good idea for them to focus on the prequel trilogy if they're to do another Haslab. I think going back to the well of the Mandalorian right now probably wouldn't have been the most clever of ideas. They could have probably upscaled that 3 3/4 inch version and maybe done a couple of different things with it and called it a day, and might have gotten away with it. Slave 1, like I said, I think would have been a great choice, given the fact that Boba Fett is back on the scene now at this stage, and that they're going to promote the Boca Bob Effect. I think that was a missed opportunity, if I'm being honest. And not only that, then, like I said, Republic gunship to me was the number one. That should have been the number one thing that they should have been doing. I thought with the fact that they were releasing Clone Troopers, the fact that they look like they're going to do Phase 2 Clone Troopers, they've been releasing Jedi, I thought that was odds on to be a favourite as to what they could do. They're in dire straits now with this Haslab Star Wars series. Haslab has been a way for them to not have to buy up retail shelf space for big ticket items like this. Now they have a big panic on their hands, because what did they do next? Did they try and release something like this that they put an awful lot of money into as a general release and try and nerf some of the stuff that's with it? Or did they continue on with this, maybe not earn as much as they can, and certainly look at it in future? Because that's what I think that they've done with the likes of Transformers. They looked at that, they seen how that went, barely got over the line, and they did something really safe then and a lot smaller with Star Saber. That's my honest thoughts on what's going on. I think the sequel trilogy has had a long-lasting and irreparable effect on the brand. There's people out there that will deny it, but you're seeing clearance items with Star Wars. This is something that never used to happen before. You're seeing an item from Return of the Jedi failing in front of our very eyes. That's how far this brand has fallen. There's people out there that will totally deny this and say it hasn't been healthier. It's in big trouble. This is why Lucasfilm is shelving movies. They've just shelved the movies of Patty Jenkins and Rian Johnson, and for good reason. She had a disaster with Wonder Woman 1984, and he had a disaster with The Last Jedi. This is not good news. To me, it needs clean house top to bottom. I feel sorry for the likes of Patrick that's there. He was insulted on a live stream there for Hasbro PulseCon by another colleague, a female colleague, and that was publicly in front of everyone. She was calling him an idiot, more or less. I couldn't believe it. I was actually startled to see it. And if that level of disrespect has been aimed at a guy that's supposedly leading the brand, it's not sending out a good message. It's certainly not sending out a good message that it's a competent professional team. Yes, of course, the guys that are in the Marvel Legends team will joke and kind of insult each other a little bit, but it's all banter. And there's a very big difference between banter and actively calling someone an idiot online in front of many people. They're going to have to take a serious look at this one. The price is too high too. If I was them, I'd be shaving off $100 at the very least, €100, £100, whatever it may be, shaving that off and saying, okay guys, I think we've misinterpreted this one, or what we're going to do is we're going to release this in a different way, format down the road, because the perks for this have been absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know how they can stand over that one either. I mean, a cardboard cutout as a tier 2, wow. I'm really shocked at that one, particularly when you looked at the other items that have been coming out now and the bells and whistles that's been given to them. I want people to understand this as this video ends. Star Wars is something that I care about, and it's certainly something that members of my family care about, and given the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, these are things that we love. This is a brand that we want to see succeed, and this is a brand that we want to see continue for generations to come, because it has awe-inspiring stories that have come with it, and it has had some very important moral lessons. It has also had some very important political lessons and messages that have been within those movies, particularly the prequel trilogy. And now what's happening is this brand is starting to go away, and it's starting to go the way of the dodo. And this is just because of complete and utter mismanagement. It's utter mismanagement from Lucasfilm. It is utter mismanagement from Disney. And it's utter mismanagement from this company not standing up to that company and saying, we do not want to produce sequel trilogy figures. And instead of them telling the truth and saying, hey, this stuff isn't selling, they decided to pump it out. And it ended up then a man from Gentle Giant, I think one of the owners there, was telling people he's not producing any sequel trilogy stuff because it doesn't sell. Yeah, Hasbro then were stuck with having to sell things. Honesty is the best policy in my view, and I think this is what the company needs to do also. They need to be more upfront about what's going on behind the scenes. Hey guys, we've only gotten a budget of this is what we can do, instead of this whole thing of stay tuned and let's see what happens and be excited for the next live stream, even though you know what's coming and it's not going to be very interesting. Just be honest. Open up the whole tiers and go, look, we're on a shoestring budget here because the last couple of movies were terrible. Be honest with people. Be honest with people with the fact that you have to repaint The Mandalorian how many times? I think it's at 6 now at this stage, because the sequel trilogy is so bad, and because The Mandalorian, particularly season 2, decided to go way off into the sunset in terms of ridiculousness, and with the problems that surrounded season 2 of that. Because let's not forget that Hasbro were also a company that people aren't forgetting about, that decided to cancel Gina Carano action figures and decided to promote Karen Ashley action figures. If you haven't seen my video on that one, check that one out. This is what the company's up to. You've reaped what you've sown, and you've sown bad seeds here, guys. So, not working out. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads. Drop a comment below. I know that I'm going to get people that disagree with me 100%. Make sure you drop a comment below. I'd love to chat and hear your thoughts and feelings on the whole situation. Have you bought this? Why have you bought this? Do you think it's going to be a hot ticket item like I think it is? I think from a marketing point of view, in terms of in the future, or from an exclusive limited run point of view in the future, I think it's going to make its money and more back if you buy it. If it makes the number, I think it's unlikely. But I also think that there is a strong possibility that this will just succeed. There might not be many tiers. I think the top tier is something like 19,000, is it? Have a look here, hang on. I think it's something like 19,000 is the highest tier. And yeah, look at that. That's insane. So the tier 1 is 11,000 backers. Tier 2, 13,500. Tier 3 is 16,000, and for Luke it's 19,000. That's not making that whatsoever. Unless the international orders are something ridiculous at this point, that's in serious trouble, this is. And I don't think that's going to get made. The Luke Skywalker figure, the fact that they've tooled that up and they have a digital render, that's going to get made. Don't worry about that one. So if you're concerned about that Luke Skywalker figure and not getting it, you'll probably get it. The Salacious Crumb, I think most people can live it out. I think people will probably live out the Gamorrean Guard as well also. But this is where we're at now. They have to focus on an item here first that everybody wants, not a creature that was in for 5 minutes and then unceremoniously removed them by Luke. There wasn't even a plastic base for the Rancor cage that comes down on it or anything like that, or an alternate head with the snot or anything like that coming out of it. Just nothing. Seems like a bad idea. Anyway, I'm going on. I'll talk to you later. Good luck. Due to the attempt at taking free speech away from blue platforms like Twitter and Facebook, make sure you're following me over here on Getter and Parler to keep updated with the channel. Thank you. Due to the limiting of the truth on this platform, make sure you're following me over here on Odyssey and on Rumble. Thank you.